A Suwanee teenager is back on the baseball diamond nearly a year after a devastating accident. Caiden Wilson was warming up for a game when he was hit in the head by a line drive. The Fox Medical Team's Beth Galvin is here with his story. That had to be so scary and happened so fast.
It happened so quickly. I mean, 1 minute Caiden was loading the pitching machine. The next, he was down on the ground with a fractured skull.
Caiden Wilson has grown up on baseball.
I've been playing baseball my whole life. The first word I ever said was ball.
But on April 13th of 2022, a freak accident changed the Suwanee 16-year-old's life. Caiden's team, North Gwinnett, was warming up for a game against Loganville High when in the batting cage, Caiden loaded the pitching machine. But before he could step behind a protective screen,
My teammate hit one right back at me.
the ball slammed into the right side of Caiden's skull, and everything went dark.
My teammates have told me I fell to the ground just laying there, and then I woke up like screaming in pain, and they ran to get my mom and the coaches.
I ran in there and immediately knew that we needed to call 911.
The only thing I recall is my mom was beside me and I told her I felt like I was dying.
I mean, I said, not today, you're not. We're all dying, but you're not dying today.
Caiden was rushed by ambulance to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta's Scottish Rite campus.
When he got to the hospital, he was awake and talking.
The children's neurosurgeon, Dr. David Rubel, says Caiden quickly began to deteriorate. One of his pupils was extremely dilated, a sign of intense pressure on his brain.
People who develop dilated pupils like that many times will pass away from pressure on the brain if that is not relieved very quickly.
Scans showed Caiden had a fractured skull and a ruptured artery just below it.
And he had a very large bleed that was outside the brain but inside the skull.
They call this an epidural hematoma, and the clock was ticking.
If you get to them in time, most of them do well. If you don't get to them in time, they have the other outcome. And he was right on the cusp of the other outcome.
In the OR, Dr. Rubel and his team were able to relieve the pressure and save Caiden. 4 days later, he was moved from the ICU to the neurology floor to begin physical, occupational, and speech therapy.
And it was a struggle. Couldn't walk for the most part on my own.
So I think mainly it's just humbled us and it's shifted our priorities into focus. I used to worry about when Caiden got on the baseball field, how is he going to perform, right? I think I'm just blessed to see him walk onto the baseball field.
And today, Caiden is playing again.
My first game back, it was scary. A lot of nerves.
But quickly, the game that he's always loved came back to Caiden Wilson.
It just came natural. I mean, this is what I've been doing my whole life. Got right back to it.
And Dr. Rubel says rehab is a huge part of the recovery process from an injury like this. And he says Caiden really put in the work at Children's, and he's had what he calls an excellent recovery. And Christine, this was really a case of like every minute literally counted here, because once they got him to the hospital, the bottom just dropped out. You know, he lost consciousness. He had to be intubated in the ER. Wow. So this was really down to the wire for Caiden, and it's such a good outcome.
Yes, so great to see that he's back on the field and doing well. All right, thanks so much, Beth.